This is the Cash Value Solutions Podcast, where your hosts, Jason Pohlmeyer and Kyle Mann, shed light on little-known money truths to help you take control of your financial future and become your own banker. Subscribe, rate, and review the show, and check us out at cashvaluesolutions.com.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. Kyle and I have a good subject lined up for you today. And Kyle, I'm going to start off with a question to lead into it. Does it make sense to practice the infinite banking concept?
Well, it makes total sense to practice the infinite banking concept. But first, for the average person who's never heard about it before, they need to understand what the problem is before we give them a solution.
Okay. So what is the problem? What are we trying to solve for with infinite banking?
Well, we're trying to not give up control to third-party lenders. We're trying to recapture lost opportunity cost. And we're also trying to reduce the volume of interest that we pay to third parties.
So everybody, whether they're aware of it or not, has a massive need for finance in their life, right?
Yes, and also a massive need for financial education.
Yeah, Kyle and I believe that part of the problem in the financial world is the lack of education and giving up control of money because of that. And so that's we're going to try to address that in today's podcast and try to explain to you just why we believe the infinite banking concept makes so much sense to practice. So, Kyle, do you want to keep going on this problem now that everybody is dealing with?
Yeah, first, let's start off with the giving up control. So, we are taught from day one that, it's just perfectly normal to give up your control or give up control of your money to banks or qualified plans, stock market, anything. It's like, get your money, and as soon as you get it, give it to somebody as quick as possible.
Yeah, it's so common, and talking to people, they'll say that the owner of the business is like, well, we got a really good retirement plan here, so you should at least put a little bit of money in there, and yet they have no idea what's even going on, and it amazes me that people don't even look at their statements on these retirement accounts. Yeah,
especially in down market times. I mean, we've experienced with, clients that we've talked to, and, we'll ask them, how much is in your qualified plan? And they say, well, I haven't looked because I don't want to see it.
Right. And I'm not saying that there can't be a place for qualified plans. In my personal life, there isn't a place for one, but just the lack of not knowing what your money is doing is risk in your life. Can you explain why that is, Kyle? Why that's risk to those clients?
Well, I mean, a lot of people think that they're saving when they do that. They don't quite understand that there is risk of loss here. So these qualified plans, they are, unless you change it, they are going to be put into some sort of mutual fund or some sort of stock market based deal there.
Yeah, some type of target date fund maybe. Or, like you said,
and there's
other
risk of
funds.
loss. And you have no control of that. You're giving it to somebody else.
Risk is, in the financial world, the chance of loss.
Yes.
And we're told the more risk that we subject our money to, the better the returns are going to be. Isn't that kind of how the story goes, Kyle?
Yeah, the higher the risk, the higher the reward. But I don't know that. I know that I don't believe that.
I don't believe that either. That seems like there's a greater chance of losing more money to me.
It almost makes you wonder, like, if this was just all sort of a plan pushed, to start from a young age. Hey, give control of your money to, like, hey, feed the Wall Street machine.
Well, and words are twisted to have a different meaning than what they actually have. And, when it's just said in a sentence and you don't think about it, it kind of makes sense to just go ahead and opt into that plan where you give up control of your money.
Yeah. And, when I was looking for something, I talked to financial advisors and stuff like that. And at first I thought, oh yeah, the way they talk, it's like, they know the best stocks to buy. They're going to produce you this rate of return and everything's going to be great. But it's just not, I mean, it's not saying it can't work out. Sure, it can, but they can't promise you anything. There's no guarantee. You should ask them, what's my guarantee? And really the only thing is they can guarantee that you have the chance of losing all your money.
No, I agree with that. And another problem is what if you go into this financial advisor and you guys look at your plan and like, well, that's not going to be enough money in retirement. And well, what if taxes are a little bit lower in the future? And what if we earn 7% instead of 6%? All of a sudden this magical number in 30 years looks amazing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But we can't count on any of those things, okay? That's why Kyle and I believe so much in the infinite banking concept. Taking control of your own financial future instead of placing it in the hands of somebody else who, to my understanding and something that Kyle and I talk about a lot, is they don't have as much interest in your financial future as you do, right?
Yeah. Nobody cares about your money more than you.
Yes, that's what I was trying to say. Thank you. So I think we hit on that pretty good.
Well, maybe one more thing we should also talk about there is, so we're giving up control and we're also told that this is going to help us tax-wise. And really, we're getting a tax deduction up front for 401k or a traditional IRA, but we're just postponing that to a later date. And look at our deficits right now and our total national debt. If they don't cut social programs, I mean, how are we going to bring this? How are we going to pay for this debt? I mean, what are the chances of taxes being higher in the future than they are right now? And so why pay on the harvest instead of the seed? I know we've talked about this before.
Yeah, but I think it needs to be said again, and everybody should realize that a tax deferral is really like postponing taxes, as Kyle was saying, into the future. Now, that isn't really minimizing your tax consequence, is it? That's just pushing it down the road off to another time, okay? What we talk about is minimizing your future tax burden, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Not pushing it away from you, but taking care of it now and not having to pay tax ever again when you properly structure and implement an infinite banking concept policy.
Yep.
So, okay, we hit on that. What about the next thing? Lost opportunity cost. This is something that you don't see, and so it doesn't hurt, but you might notice that you're having trouble getting ahead in life because of it.
Yeah, it's unseen to the eye. It's an unseen cost.
And just so our listeners understand, there's a cost to paying cash or borrowing money. You either pay interest to a third party to use their money, or you lose out on the opportunity to earn interest on your money when you pay cash. That's the big one that you don't see.
And maybe one reason why we don't think about this much in this day and age is because interest rates are 0.01%. I mean, they're low. So well, you're not really losing anything in a traditional bank account.
That's right. People in this low interest rate environment, as you said, I mean, they think of money as it isn't going to earn anything for me. So so there isn't an opportunity cost.
Yeah,
but there is somewhere else to put your money. It's just something that isn't talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we do with infinite banking. But that is lost opportunity cost is, along with taxes, probably the two biggest destroyers of wealth in your life.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Taxes is something that you see. Now, if it's taken out of your paycheck, you might not think anything of it.
Yeah.
But those are the two biggest wealth destroyers in your life. So how does infinite banking fit in here, Kyle?
Well, infinite banking allows us to take control of our own finances. It also allows us to recapture lost opportunity cost.
Two big things that are hurting us right now.
Yep.
And it allows us to minimize our future tax burden.
For sure.
Aside from that, I want to look at a very basic, fundamental thing to try and explain IBC to everybody. So I'm going to go through a short example here with you guys. Okay, if you can imagine that, say you save up money in your bank account for property taxes and maybe some vehicle insurance or home insurance, and say you pay these things every 6 months. And so every month out of the year, you're saving up a portion of that money that it's going to take to pay that premium to cover those costs or tax in the future, okay? So what are you doing? You're building up a pool of money but you're doing it at the traditional bank. Is that right, Kyle?
Yep.
All we're doing is building up a pool of money. Okay. Now, what if instead of building up this pool of money and spending it every 6 months, what if we start an IBC policy where we can leverage our money, we can collateralize our cash value, we still build up money inside the IBC policy, it's still cash flowing in, okay? We build it up in this IBC policy though, and instead of spending it down to zero, our money is still working for us, earning interest for us, and we pay back into this policy that we've created. In effect, recapturing the lost opportunity cost that we were talking about just a little bit ago, okay? It's just cash flows in and cash flows out. It's the same at the traditional bank as it is with your IBC policy. It just happens that the IBC policy has a lot more advantages, more growth potential than what a traditional bank account does.
Yeah, and I think it really comes down to is people have the idea in their head that whole life insurance is bad, and it just starts and ends there, and that's why we don't see it. And I mean, like we've said before, properly structured, properly implemented, the infinite banking concept is the best place to build wealth because of this. And like we've said this whole time, I mean, it's cash flows in, cash flows out. We can build capital here. It never goes back down to zero, so we're not losing the opportunity cost there, and then we can then invest or pay expenses that we need to pay. I mean, if you're good at making money in the stock market, by all means do it. First, put your money in the policy, then invest in the stock market.
Absolutely.
We're adding velocity to your money.
And try to think about it this way too. This is going to be different for everybody, but some of us will get paychecks. Some of us may sell properties or stocks. Some of us may get a rent check from a rental property, okay? That could be called like cash creation, okay? We got to have money to start building this pool of money. Are you following with me, Kyle?
Yep.
Okay, so that's cash creation. The next step with the cash flow in, typically where people are using the traditional bank, is what you could call cash capture. You have to have a system to hold your pool of money, the cash capture system, okay? A lot of people are using a traditional bank to do this, but the IBC policy is where you should be doing it. You can collateralize your cash value. You can have uninterrupted compounding of your money while you're using it. You minimize your future tax burdens. It's a great system for future wealth transfer, and the account instantly jumps in value up to the death benefit when you pass away. There's no other accounts like that on this planet. Okay, what are some other things, Kyle, that this system is giving people that they don't even see because it's never talked about with whole life insurance?
Well, even one thing that we overlook a lot is the death benefit. I mean, if you can put your money, let's say putting your money at the bank, and you could put it somewhere else, like a whole life insurance policy that has a death benefit, like let's say $100,000 death benefit. Where, like, if you just saw it out on paper like that, where would you put the money?
Well, I don't think that you would put it in the traditional bank, would you?
I mean, if you don't see, this also comes with a $100,000 death benefit or whatever the death benefit would be, but we don't look at it that way. And it's also like some of our other podcasts talk about the misconceptions that whole life insurance and the infinite banking concept have.
Absolutely. And to go along with that, I mean, a lot of people have some type of life insurance that they're paying on. And it's kind of ironic that we pay on life insurance during the time of our lives when we're least likely to pass away. Now, there is a need for life insurance at that time. But then when we turn 60 or 65, maybe even 70 for some people, this insurance that we have, the term is up on it. And so that was a liability to us our entire life because we paid and paid and paid into it. But at the end, we're left with nothing. Mm-hmm. Versus whole life, we've paid and paid and paid into it. We've been using this IBC policy our whole lives, and it's still in force at the time when we pass away. So it's transferring wealth to the next generation.
Yes. And no matter how you look at it, Like putting your money in a traditional bank versus a whole life insurance contract. Yes, with the whole life insurance contract, you lose a little bit of liquidity up front. That is what we call the capitalization period. But over 10, this also depends on age, health, but over 10, 15, 20 years plus, the difference in the accounts, I mean, we're going to be looking at thousands, but more than likely hundreds of thousands of dollars of difference.
It's massive. And, that's something we talked about a little bit earlier this week, is people get really hung up on the fact that, well, if I put $10,000 in there and I don't have $10,000 back at the end of year one, well, why in the world would I ever do this? But they don't look at whole life insurance over a long enough time span. Okay. People will tell you, and I'm just going to use the stock market for an example, that you can put your money in the stock market and there'll be ups and downs, but over the long run, you're going to come out ahead. Okay. Nobody ever talks about the massive increase in cash value of these policies 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the road. Whoa,
Yeah.
That is incredible.
Exactly. And that increase is tax-free.
Yeah, we can use that money when properly set up and implemented in our lives without paying tax on it. Nobody ever talks about that. They just look at the first year, 2 years, 5 years and say, well, that doesn't, this isn't really that interesting to me. But yet there's a capitalization phase to everything. And life insurance, it just happens to be at the very beginning, you give up some liquidity, but you still have access to money, Kyle.
Yeah. You can't buy something for nothing.
Yes, I agree. So I hope that this helped to explain the infinite banking concept and why it makes sense to do it. Again, it's just cash flows in and out, right?
Yes.
With IBC, we're taking control of that. We're controlling cash flowing to us. And instead of having so many things where cash is flowing out and we can't have those dollars ever work for us again, just like vehicle insurance, home insurance, groceries, vehicles that you purchase, your mortgage on your home, okay? If we capitalize this system and use this system to purchase things, we can keep those dollars working for us now and in the future.
Yes. I mean, you need an open mind and you need to be a long-term thinker, and you will be very successful with this concept.
And I'd also like to hit on something else before we get out of here, Kyle. With this policy, you are in complete control, okay? Now, you might be able to get a lower interest rate somewhere if you want to finance something. But what this system allows you to do is be in control. You're the banker. You get to choose, okay? I have this pool of capital built up that I have access to and I can finance things with. Now, if there's an opportunity where you can borrow money at a lower rate somewhere else, that's your choice. That's the beauty of this system. You have options. You're in control.
Yes. And maybe one more thing that we should hit on, which is something I've come across a lot lately on some forums, is people asking about infinite banking, and then people commenting on after that saying how don't do it. All it is high fees and high commissions. And I kind of want to just shed some light on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
So whole life insurance, it can pay huge commissions. Okay. So we'll talk about the standard whole life contract where it's all base. We're worried about complete death benefit here.
Okay. So we're paying money to purchase death benefit. That's it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And let's say we're putting in 10 grand. It's going straight to death benefit. Okay. That agent could make anywhere from $8,000 to $13,000 the first year on that. Huge commissions. Yes. And your cash value for the first 2 years, it's going to be right around zero.
Yeah, there's not going to be much there at all.
And that's not to say that sometimes maybe this works for people too. All base isn't bad, but it's not what we're doing here. It's not what we're trying to do for cash accumulation. So if you go to us, how we set up policies, we minimize the insurance costs. So on a $10,000 policy, we are taking a huge reduction on commission. That's going to be anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000, depending on age and health.
Yeah, there's a massive cut in our commission, but we believe that this is so beneficial to you guys that in the long run, even though we're taking commission cuts today, that you guys are going to want to do more policies, and we're going to benefit, as well as you benefiting, as well as the insurance company benefiting from the business that we're putting in force down the road.
Yeah, I should also say they don't pay that much every year either. It's just the first year where they do their larger commission.
Right, first year commissions for the policies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, anything else that we should touch on, Kyle?
Well, also that we also don't have any fees. I know some people that do teach the infinite banking concept do have fees for talking to them, and we do not. We get paid directly from the insurance company, and the commission is already baked into the product.
Yeah, we're talking about net numbers, and we don't charge fees to meet with people. We are happy to meet with clients, do strategy sessions, and most of all, we're just here to provide education and help you guys learn the infinite banking concept.
Absolutely, and I hope you guys enjoyed today's show, and we maybe shed some light on things that you weren't sure about.
Yeah, I agree. So we'll talk to you soon, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
This was the Cash Value Solutions Podcast. Remember to subscribe, rate, and review the show. Check us out at cashvaluesolutions.com. And don't forget to tune in next week.